Hey folks, welcome back to the Holy Comforter Episcopal Church YouTube Bible study. It's great to have all of you join me. This upcoming Sunday, May 27th, 2018, is Trinity Sunday, one of the 7 principal feast days of the church here. And so we are going to be looking at Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. Isaiah 6, 1 through 8. This is personally a very meaningful passage for me. It was the Old Testament lesson at my ordination to the priesthood, and it was also the Old Testament lesson on my first Sunday here at Holy Comforter. So it has a lot of richness for me. Now it's kind of cool right now. There is a thunderstorm outside, and we're just about to read how about God's grandeur. So it's like perfect setup. Isaiah 6, 1 through 8. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The pivots on the threshold shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me! I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of lords. Lord of hosts. Sorry about that. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here I am, send me. So obviously you can see why this is read at services of ordination. Here I am, send me. This sort of idea of being called in God's temple to go to God's people. Just a few other things about this. The hem of his robe filled the temple. It's supposed to be this image of grandeur, right? That God, God's robe, I guess, this is sort of metaphorical language here, that just the hem of his robe fills the temple. We should also say that in the year King Uzziah died, King Uzziah was the king of the southern kingdom of Judea. It appears that he died in about 740 BC. He died as a leper, so he would have actually been alone, cut off from the community. And this is also the year that the Assyrian Empire started threatening the people there. So there's a lot going on. In the year King Uzziah died is not just the sort of a calendar, but it's a pivot moment for Isaiah and for the people. Which kind of makes me wonder and ask you, what are those pivot moments? What have been those pivot years in your life? In the year I got married, in the year I graduated from college, in the year my child was born, whatever it is, I think that all of us have those moments, those years that aren't just calendar years, but they mean so much more to us. And in those times, in those years, God's presence, God's will, God's purpose has been revealed to us in our life. And I think that's a little bit of what's going on here in Isaiah. This image of the fire being taken and putting to the lips of Isaiah, it's an image of a refining fire. Not fire as destructive, but fire as cleansing. That his lips are now clean, and he can now speak God's words, God's purpose with purity. Remember, word speaking. I mean, it's here that's so important. Remember when God speaks creation into being. We call Jesus the Word of God. So this is very crucial. And so I do think it's interesting that it's not that Isaiah's mind is purified or his heart, but it's his lips, because this is what speaks things into existence. Now, it's too bad the lectionary cuts it off, but the passage goes on essentially saying, Isaiah's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to speak I'm going to speak for you, God. I'm going for you. And then God's like, well, too bad, because no one's going to listen to you anyway. Which is probably a good lesson for every priest at ordination. You go out there with such boldness and such enthusiasm. I'm going to light the world on fire for the gospel. And then, life happens and church happens. So it's just kind of a good reminder that even though we have been commissioned by God, we may speak things that the world does not listen to. And we have to remember that the world looks at things as either a success or a failure, and the church does not look at things that way. The church only looks at faithfulness, not success or failure, but faithfulness. And I think that's the key here in Isaiah's call, is that Isaiah is going to be faithful to God's commission. So I thank you for joining me. I pray for all of you for this Trinity Sunday, that God may be revealed to you, and that you may have some sort of vision, some encounter with the divine, and that from there you too are sent to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ, the good news of God's presence and God's gift to all people.